So hello, this is Mark Plain from Not on the Beeb, and we've got back a famous guest who has become very famous, Dr. T. Now, it's great to have you again. Great to have you. And I've been inundated with emails from everybody since our last episode, which isn't a surprise really, on what is in our masks, are the PPE safe? And the big one question that everyone's been saying, which is why we're doing this now, is have you got an update? So this is what we're doing right now. But the next question everyone's been asking is, who is Dr. T? And is she really a doctor? So I'm going to hand over to you there, Dr. T, to see how you'd like to answer that one.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I am a doctor, and I trained, I think I did say in one of the videos that my training was at the very start of the 1990s, and went to a UK medical school, very prominent one, and started off my career in hospital medicine and then ended up in general practice. I don't want to spend more time focusing on me, because what I am trying to do in these videos is actually share information so that people can actually discover things for themselves, and people who are in positions of power, and by power I mean in various institutions, not necessarily political power, but people who have the ability to actually do something about the things that we're talking about, can actually do it. So I would like to say it's not that relevant who I am, because I'm not asking you to take my word for things. I want people to go out and actually sort things out. So it's not like, when I do a critical appraisal, reading a journal article or something, it matters to understand who those people are and their conflicts of interest and everything else. I haven't actually got any conflicts of interest, but I'm not publishing you a paper. I'm asking you to look, and people who can do stuff about things to do things. So yes, I am a proper doctor, but I don't actually think it's that relevant.
That's a great answer. Well, we did the call out on the last video after showing your slides and the photographs of what you found inside the masks. We asked people to replicate it, and we asked experts and anybody who was in an department with good microscopes or pathology departments to get the masks and have a look. And again, been inundated with emails with people coming back, and nearly every single person's replicated it. A couple of people didn't make the fibers or whatever they are move. Everyone was saying, no, we found this and it's strange and we're not quite sure what it is. But we haven't taken, we've had, I'm not going to mention the departments, but we've had people from Norway who have moved towards a governmental level. We've had doctors from Holland, from Eastern Europe, all replicating it. We've had Mike Adams, the famous Mike Adams in America, get out his microscopes and replicate it as well. He did an article on it. So we've had all that replication, but the one thing where we're leading to is we also had some people send a video which they all thought debunked the whole thing, which was Micro Hunter, who'd made a video, and people sent it to us. And including, I had a British doctor, send it to me as well, as in, this proves it. So
a few people who know who I am, yes.
they showed the same video, but it's a very interesting video, isn't it? And I know that you've analysed this, and you've got like a certain opinion on it, like a reply to this video.
Yeah, because like I say, there are a few people who know who the elusive Dr. T is, and so they asked me about it as well. So yeah, I mean, there's a few things. The first thing is, it's what I would call a classic AstroTurf video. And AstroTurf is a situation where something appears as if it's a kind of grassroots organization, but it actually isn't. There's a little bit more funding and stuff behind it than that. And the reason I say that isn't because I have a particular opinion about Microbe Hunter, but it's to do with a few things that happen in the video. And one is that when people are astroturfing, they tend to criticize the messenger, not the message. So they tend to kind of don't really focus on the facts of the matter and what that might be and why not, and do things that make people think that for believing it, they might be stupid or something else. So there's a classic line in it where he actually says, you shouldn't believe everything on the internet. And he's saying this on the internet. So that either implies you shouldn't believe everything on the internet except me, or he's kind of building up some kind of situation where people start to doubt themselves and so on. I mean, it's a given thing. You shouldn't believe everything in books. You shouldn't believe everything in the internet. But to say that in a video has got a kind of condescending message to it. The second thing is, in his video, he uses spaghetti as well at some point to explain how this is just like spaghetti and how spaghetti reacts with moisture. And he admits in his video that he is playing the video forwards and back again. And so you're not then very clear, is he doing that also when he's showing the footage of the fibres? Is he also playing that forward and back again? And so it does seem like a very strange thing to be there. When I have shown my videos, they're going only in one direction. You can hear my voice on them in the background. But more than just believing me or believing him, when people look for themselves, they know that they're not playing their own microscope or video forwards and back again. So it doesn't fully explain the movement that I've seen. And from what I'm gathering, a lot of other people have seen as well, which isn't just things blew one way and then went back again, and then a video getting forward and back. There was more distinct movement than that. The third thing is that the more masks and things that I've looked at, there does seem to be different fibres, and there's some orange ones and some blue ones and black ones, and then there's these slightly wider black ones, and those are the ones that I've seen moving and were featuring in the videos last time. So I also felt that I didn't see anything on his video that actually looked like those either. The other thing is that he says that these things have no internal structures in them, so they couldn't possibly be worms. Well, I could see internal structures on what I was looking at, and hopefully, even though I know it wasn't as good over the video as down the microscope, I think there were points where that was visible on the videos as well. But for people looking for themselves, that's again something where people could see that for themselves, not taking my word for it. The other crucial thing is he implying like just fibers are there all the time and this is normal. Since the last video, I've actually found a seed about 2 years old, and I put that under the microscope. So this is a pre-pandemic mask, and there were absolutely no loose fibers on it or worms or anything else. So it was a white mask, and it was only white. There was nothing loose, nothing moved, just nothing else there. It was just a mask. So that kind of really is quite a major not adding to me. And my final point is that I think is very interesting is I do have a habit with a lot of different things to follow the money. And it's interesting to me how everybody who starts looking at the videos of not on the Beeb or on other things like this found that this microbe hunter video got promoted and was coming up in their feed. So, you know, it's heavily being pushed by YouTube and whatever to be going out there forward. So yeah, that was my feeling to it myself.
That's a really good point, because the video we did kind of accelerated and started to go viral, and suddenly the kind of brakes went on it. It's very interesting to see this on YouTube, but yet people had copied the video and they'd put it on Rumble, and by the time we'd kind of got, I think it was only 7,000 views, the copy on Rumble had already clocked 40,000. Just one copy on Rumble, and we saw that on all the alternative platforms. The video just, they didn't delete the main video we did, but they definitely, the brakes definitely seem to be put on it. And like you say, prominence was given to people looking for it to a debunking video, which was very clearly debunking. So that you just mentioned finding the mask from 2 years ago. I mean, for me, when I heard that, I was absolutely blown away, because that for me is just crucial evidence. Because just to repeat to everybody, that was one of the other questions we had coming in all the time, is everyone kept asking, can you tell me what brand of mask it was? Where did you get the mask that was contaminated from? And what we had to keep kind of replying was, no, it's every mask. Just pick up any mask, pull it in randomly. Everything we're checking, doesn't matter from where it's coming from, is got this contamination of these fibers. Now, when you called me and said you'd found masks from 2 years ago that have 0 in, for me, that's the smoking gun, because what everybody thinks these fibers, what's happened in the world where suddenly these textile fibers, as microbe hunters calling them, have suddenly appeared on the mask. Because why wasn't the mask contaminated with them before, if they're coming out of the same factories and the same things? So that's
the other thing about fibers, and completely inanimate fibers, which not all fibers are, but is, as many people have commented, loose fibers that are affected and move and whatever by breath and by moisture. So that would highly imply that they are inhalable. People don't want those on their masks either. So that's the other great unanswered question, is whatever these are, and they might not be just one thing, it might be a variety of fibers, some something, something else, I don't know. But whatever they are, loose things in a mask that's getting held over the face and you're breathing through for hours on end, that doesn't sound safe at all. Asbestos is dead, it's never been alive, and look at the illness from that. So I kind of still at that point, really.
Asbestos is a fiber, and the way I've been describing it to people is saying, because his answer for somebody who's hunting down what it is, he said it's a textile fiber. And surely somebody, from my perspective, someone who's looking deeply into things should say, what kind of textile fiber? Because there are multiple kinds of textile fibers. Anybody involved in textiles knows the whole variety there. So for me, it's a bit like saying, oh, don't worry, it's a leaf. And a leaf sounds so kind of inane, innocuous. But if you go into a garden, any British garden, there are hundreds of different types of plants. And some of the leaves you can eat because they're for salads. Some are bitter and some are poisonous, all the time. So just saying it's a leaf or just saying it's a textile fiber doesn't solve anything. It might just sound kind of calm, but it doesn't end the discussion. And we should be naming what is that textile fiber. Absolutely. But while we're there on this video, we won't show the video because I think people can easily find it. I'll put a link to it so if people want to actually look at it. But what I'm going to do here is show the comments, because I only saw the comments today, and for me they were quite revealing, because you see this very kind of persuasive video. It's had 174,000 views in just over a month, but the number one comment, this is a debunking video, number two comment, let's start with number 2. I don't care what they are, they do not belong in my frigging lungs, period. That was from Caroline. They come down. Next comment is, that's why you should wear 2 of them, because people don't have enough fiber in their diet.
It's always good that people are still managing humour.
Exactly. And now explain how similar fibers have been found and are being removed from under the skin of individuals. Exactly. So, and the maggots are not only in masks. Apparently, they make debunking videos now as well.
Okay, that's a bit personal for me, so we'll
okay, I
did. I know you didn't say it. You're just reading off.
I'm just reading off. So basically, wearing masks means I'm breathing fibers in when I don't have to. What's smaller than those fibers? COVID. COVID is smaller. Okay, so someone pointing out that the virus particle will go through the mask.
Yes.
And next one again, all saying the same thing. I was interested, but either way, I don't want to be breathing in textile fibers that are loose in the mask. Next one, move along. Nothing to see, folks. Keep breathing deeply through your masks. Kool-Aid refreshments down the stall. So basically, everyone is basically debunking the debunking video,
Yeah.
which is quite surprising, because I would have thought there'd be at least half the people would be kind of supporting what he said and kind of saying what idiots everybody could believe these fibers or something. But no, that's not what the public are saying at all.
Yeah, well, there might be now a change. Now you've pointed that out. There might be some extra anonymous comments come from somewhere.
Oh, I've just noticed something else. I'm just going to pop this back up. Very interesting here. If you actually look at the likes and dislikes, there's 3.2 thousand have liked it and 1,000 haven't. That's a ratio of kind of roughly 3 to 1. And that's, I know from the film work I've done, that's a disaster in terms of a YouTube video. To have it should be well under 10%. It should be dislikes. And that's from the whole, so that doesn't work at all. But let's move on. I've had enough of Microbe. And we've given him too much airtime already. But it was really good to deal with that, because so many people have kind of brought it up as some sort of kind of full stop to our query. And of course, we've looked at it seriously, and it doesn't hold water. And also just the fact that an algorithm was clearly pushing it in front of people. So I think it was tackle it. There's an agenda there. Okay, now we've got some new photographs to look. Now I know you were thinking, "Oh, don't show these." You said to me, "Don't show these. These are too crazy." But we need to have a bit of kind of mystery and entertainment. When you've gone to the effort of taking these pictures. Yeah, so I have faced the fact of sharing them now, so it's okay. Okay. So let's just have a look at these pictures you found. Tell us what this is. So this is under one of the masks, same brand that was used before, but fresh mask. And I was just trying to see if I could get any better pictures, because if people are still thinking, we want this to be black and white. And I saw these 3 circles. Now, the kind of paler white areas, those are kind of the glued areas in mask, for anyone who hasn't yet looked at masks. So it's just where the plastic synthetic fibers of the mask themselves are fused together, so you get these white blobs. So the white blob that the 3 black circles are on is normal. Okay. So I saw them, and I was just taking stills, and I thought, oh my goodness, I can see these moving. So this mask had been steamed. So that was completely filtered water, double boiled, and held over it, so it hadn't gone in the water. And I started to see it moving. And also there was this kind of variety, which I think does show up on here, where there is dark and lighter darkness in the circles. They didn't kind of look uniform. And I thought, well, I know this has been over steam, but I've done other things over steam. That couldn't possibly be steam, could it? I thought, well, no, it really doesn't look like that. Although I have to say afterwards, I spent a lot of time looking at what steam and water can look like under the microscope, and it doesn't look anything like this. I then switched the camera on to video mode, and then a really quite shocking thing happened. So it was only when I looked at that afterwards that I saw what had happened. So let's have a look at it now. And have a see.
Okay, so after it's been in steam, it seems to have formed these kind of spherical forms.
So the fiddling at the end there, that's it, just going back to the beginning again where you can see that there. But the fiddling at the end is just because I can't believe I've just lost it. So that's where I'm changing the focus. But the rest of the part where it's disappearing, and you can play this back again and see for yourself, I'm not actually changing the focus once I've got it in focus. So if you look at the other fibers, I'm not doing anything. And these literally disappeared because I could see all three under my microscope. They literally disappeared in front of my eyes. I'm not going to try and say what that is. What I did notice when I played the video back is right at the beginning, the kind of top left circle, 11, 12 o'clock, if you like, there's a kind of little flit out right at the very beginning where it looks, where it's only just when it's coming into focus, and you can kind of just see it's almost like a closing shape. It kind of comes down.
Yeah, I just saw it close there, just there.
Yeah.
I'm just going to see if I can just move the video back forward for people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can scroll it here. So what we're looking at,
it's just even before
there
that.
we go.
Just go back a tiny bit further. I think it's when it's only just coming into focus.
Yeah, and you can see it close there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But at the very, very start, when it's really quite out of focus, there's this movement.
Yeah, Chink, just there, Chink, there. You just see it. Yeah. It's very, very clear to see. Very, very clear to see. Now, I had to look at this when I first saw this. I must have looked at this 20 times because I thought this had to be.
Well, I think I did about 40 or 50. That was not what I was expecting to see.
No, but you can see if you look at the fibers around. I thought it was just an effect caused by the focusing of the microscope, but when you actually look, you can see the fibers around it stay in focus, and you can see that it's the shape that's moving. And if it hadn't been anybody else except for you, I would have just gone, oh, this has to be some sort of hoax. This is like somebody putting UFO up in the sky.
Yeah. And do you know what? I don't want people to over focus on this. The reason I've shared it is because, do you know what? If somebody else has seen this, I haven't seen it before or since, but if someone else has seen this, at least they can know that they're not losing their mind under the stress of it, or someone else has seen it as well. Okay. But I don't kind of need the 4,000 comments saying, oh, look at what she's producing now. Do you know what? If it's of no use to you, just ignore it. I've decided to bite the bullet and share it in case it's of any help, because for me, it has actually helped me. But I understand. I know I'm not faking that, but I understand it is very, very, very weird looking. So, don't spend too much attention on it. But I just put it out there because for me, if I'm honest, it's really added to my feelings that this can't be explained away by a normal polyester, nylon, whatever fiber. That doesn't do that. It just doesn't, full stop.
No, and we there's no point, we can't censor ourselves because it doesn't provide the full picture, because that could be somebody might see that and go, I know what this is. That's exactly. That triggers some sort of memory, experience, or knowledge. Stuff out there. We've done that. But talking weird stuff, we're going to go another little step now, because you've had some time and you've put some other things under the microscope. Tell us what you've been doing.
So I guess these are going to be familiar to some people now. These are lateral flow tests. So inside there, part of what you get are these sterile swabs, each one individually wrapped. And this is what businesses are handing out to their employees. And this is what the children are having done to them. So at first I didn't do it. One of the main reasons is that I bought my microscope specifically for looking at textiles, so for looking at the masks. And I wasn't sure that I was actually going to have the right kind of microscope for looking at the swabs. So that was the big reason I didn't do it. And I guess, like a lot of people do a lot of the time, I thought there's other people doing it. I don't need to do it as well. Leave someone else to do it. And then the situation has got, from my point of view, extremely worrying about what's happening to our children now, that I thought, in case I can add to this in any way at all, I have to have a look. And I wanted to use a magnification that I thought was replicable for school microscopes. So I've done it under times 100 magnification. So these are sterile swabs, lateral flow swabs. And I just want to explain a tiny little bit about swabs because I think there's a little bit of confusion about this. So there's a kind of swabs we use in medicine that are a lot like cotton wool buds. So they're kind of quite soft and rounded. And their fibers are quite different looking from these. And then for the lateral flow test swabs and some other ones that sometimes we use, and I won't go into the details where some of those are shoved, but there are swabs that are more spiky and made from synthetic kind of cut short fibers, if you like, that are all coming out of the stem, the same as lateral flow tests. So basically in this sterile swab, what you should be seeing are lots of just ends of fibers all coming out fixed from the middle. So that's what it should look like. Very first swab I put under the microscope, and there's stuff there that I'd never seen before and shouldn't be there, and it carries on. So I only spent just 5-10 minutes to get these images that we've got here. So here's the first one. So you can see there's this connecting point between two of the fibers. Now, again, I think people must be really bored of me saying this, but under the microscope, it was really clear that this was really coming out of one and into the other, because I had to make a decision about what to have in focus to take the picture, and it's not always the best. But these were clearly connected by this small strand. But there's much more to see later. So let's move on to some of the other slides. So at the end of these fibers, an ordinary nylon fiber, synthetic fiber like this, it should just be kind of cut off at the end. Okay, so it shouldn't have kind of bulbous, funny bits going on, and yet there's this kind of thing. And the more magnification you see it under, it does look to me as if this is a hollow fiber, and as if something is coming out of the end of it.
Oh my goodness, they do. I hadn't noticed that. Yes.
Okay, so you can see that on several of the fibers there. And like I say, this doesn't take any effort to look at this. Now, because fibers are, as we saw in the masks, these things melt. Yeah, so when you fuse fibers together, you can melt them, you can squash the ends. In my opinion, this doesn't look just like an end that's kind of got knocked or squashed or something. It does look different, but there's other things that come up that are far more kind of convincing to me than that, particularly if you just go to that other fiber. I think it's a little bit clearer on the other fiber that you're zooming in on. So to me, it does look like the stuff is emerging from the end of it. Okay, but let's move on to the next picture. So now on this one, we start to see something that really looks really quite irregular at the end of this fiber. And can you zoom in a little bit for us? Yeah. And again, under the microscope, this is really clear, but this is ×100 and magnification. So this is a ×10 objective lens and a ×10 eyepiece. Okay. And this just doesn't look normal to me. This doesn't look normal. This is a sterile swab. I've had to break the packet to go into there. What is this doing here? Again, this one almost seemed to have, dare I use the worm word, but this kind of linear structure coming out of the end, and then a blobby bit on the end of that. We're getting really technical now. Now this, when it was under the microscope, it is really hard to capture on here, but I could kind of see this was almost like a linear sheet of something coming out of the end that then had a slight curve in it. So very fine structure, but really quite broad, very, very peculiar. I cannot see the relation between this and a sterile swab made out of these synthetic kind of quite firm fibers, if you like. I cannot see what that is doing there. I cannot see what that is doing there at all. I've forgotten if we're out of, oh no, we're not out of images. We've got a good one coming next. Right, okay, so this and you'll notice that they do seem very focused on the end of the fibers, but this one is, could really see this kind of internal structure to it. I've got to the stage now where when I look at something like that, I really have to be honest and say this is going beyond my knowledge, but I do recognize it's not normal. I don't know if this is something that is man-made or if this is something that is natural or a combination of the two. I do not know, but I know it shouldn't be there. I really know that should not be in a sterile swab.
It's quite, I mean, you could literally see the tanglement of the structure within inside the outer structure, which reminds me of what real worms look like. You can see through their body, and you can see this kind of
and it had quite a kind of, I mean, not a point, but this kind of rounded tip that was like an end of a worm. But I don't know if it's a worm or not a worm. But really odd. And like I say, it didn't take long to find these. So that's what I found on lateral flow swabs. And for teachers and parents and children out there, but really they are children. So actually I'm talking to the teachers most of all. You've got microscopes in your schools. A lot of the schools, most secondary schools have got microscopes. You don't need to take my word for this. You don't have to try and analyze who I am and whether I'm telling the truth or not. If you are prepared to hand out these swabs, be involved with the use of these swabs in any way, shape or form on children, then you look at them under your microscope, times 100 and magnification, okay? You look along the border edge, because obviously they're too dense in the middle. Just go along, all along one edge, all along the other, then turn it slightly if you need to. I never needed to do that. I saw stuff straight away. If you find stuff, like I'm showing you, if you find anything except just solid, pokey fibers that are part of the swab, if there's anything else there in the sterile swabs, unless you 100% understand what that is and you can 100% say that is safe, how can you continue to be involved in this practice? Because the only reason you are being involved is you are following orders. Mm-hmm. And these are children, that are at lesser risk. So it says Professor Ioannidis, sorry if I'm not pronouncing his name right, than for the flu. Children are at less risk from COVID-19 than the flu. So unless you know that that is safe, do not partake in this. And you can yourself together, however many teachers there are in your school, however many schools there are in your area, you can together reject these lateral flow tests. You can send them back and say, these appear to be contaminated. We're not prepared to use these on children.
Exactly. And I want to just add there, again, I've said this before, previous episodes with them. And one thing I learned when I went to Germany, Dr. Schoening mentioned that the law in Germany after the Nuremberg trials was brought in to say that following orders was never an excuse, because during the Nuremberg trials, everyone's excuse was, I was following orders. So right now, in this age we're in, the great awakening, the great realization of what's going on, everyone has to stand on their own feet and take responsibility for their actions. So, I totally back 100% what you're saying there, to the teachers with the kids, but also to everybody else who's in a position working in the centres using these, please see what you're using and please check.
Because as adults, we did tolerate this, and the children are next, and it's happening now.
Absolutely. I don't think I can say anything more. I think everything's been said very, very clearly. So let's wrap up. So thank you, Dr. T, again, for an absolutely
thank you for having me.
fascinating look at your pictures and hearing your perception and everything. Thank you very much for all the work you're doing.
Thanks for having me. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, bye.